You'll always be a loser, Matt, stuck in that tin can. My brother's sneer cut deeper than I'd admit. I'd show him what a loser could do. I'm Matthew Cole, 40, a mechanic running my own auto shop. My brother's mockery of my simple trailer life broke something in me. I used to think family lifted you up no matter what. Now I know. Sometimes you rise by proving them wrong. The gravel crunched under my truck's tires as I pulled into Eric's driveway, his sprawling mansion looming like a showroom. It was a Saturday, the sun high, and I'd driven 2 hours from my trailer park to see my brother, hoping for a rare moment of family. My toolbox rattled in the back, a reminder of my life as a mechanic. Grease-stained hands, long hours, but my own shop, my own rules. At 40, I was proud of what I'd built, even if it was modest. I grabbed the six-pack I'd brought, thinking we'd crack open some beers, maybe laugh about the old days. I was wrong. Eric met me at the door, his Rolex glinting, his smile sharp. "Matty, still driving that rust bucket?" he said, loud enough for his guests, some suited-up types sipping wine on the patio, to hear. I forced a laugh, my grip tightening on the beers. He led me inside, the house all marble and glass, nothing like the cramped home we'd grown up in. His friends eyed my flannel shirt, my work boots, their smirks barely hidden. Eric poured me a drink, then leaned in, his voice low but cutting. "Still living in that tin can, huh? You'll always be a loser, Matt, stuck in that trailer." The words hit like a wrench to the chest. My trailer wasn't much, a single wide with a leaky roof, but it was mine, paid off, no debts. I'd chosen it to stay free, to build my shop without owing anyone. Eric knew that. Knew how I'd clawed my way up after Dad's garage went under. Yet here he was in his $2 million house calling me a failure in front of strangers. My face burned, my hands clenching the beer can until it dented. His guests chuckled, one muttering, "Some people never move up." I wanted to snap back, to list every car I'd fixed, every client who trusted me. Instead, I swallowed hard, my throat tight, and stayed quiet. I left early, Eric's laugh echoing as I climbed into my truck. "Come back when you're ready to live like a real man," he called, his voice dripping with condescension. The drive home was a blur, my knuckles white on the wheel, his words looping in my head. Loser, tin can. He'd always been the golden boy, real estate deals, fancy cars, while I was the grunt, the one who stayed behind. But this wasn't just sibling rivalry. This was betrayal, a knife twisted in front of an audience. I pulled into my trailer park, the familiar creak of my steps grounding me. I wasn't a loser, and I'd make sure Eric knew it. Eric thought his words would bury me, but they woke something up. I'd show him a loser's strength. The door of my trailer slammed shut behind me, the familiar creak of the steps grounding me as I stepped into the dim light of my living room. Eric's voice, "loser, stuck in that tin can," looped in my head, each word a fresh cut. I dropped onto the couch, my work boots still on, the smell of grease clinging to my hands. My trailer was small, the walls thin, but it was mine. No mortgage, no debts, just the hum of the fridge and the life I'd built as a mechanic. Eric's mansion, with its marble floors and smug guests, felt like another planet. I'd spent years shrugging off his jabs, thinking family meant taking the high road. Not anymore. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, the cold can biting my palm, and sat at my kitchen table, staring at the faded photo of me and Eric as kids, grinning in Dad's old garage. He'd always been the charmer, the one who left for the city, chasing real estate deals while I stayed, fixing cars, keeping the shop alive. His success, fancy cars, that sprawling house, cast a shadow I'd never minded until now. His mockery wasn't just about my trailer. It was about erasing me, making my life small in front of his rich friends. My jaw clenched, the beer untouched. I wasn't small. I was steady, and I'd make him see it. That night I couldn't sleep, Eric's sneer burning hotter with every toss and turn. I thought about his deals. Big, flashy, always too good to be true. A memory hit. A client at my shop. A guy who'd bought a condo from Eric, complaining about shady paperwork and hidden fees. I'd brushed it off then, not wanting to dig into family drama. Now it felt like a thread worth pulling. I opened my laptop, the screen's glow harsh in the dark, and started searching Eric's name. News articles, real estate forums, county records, bits and pieces of his empire surfaced. A few posts hinted at trouble. Unpaid contractors, rushed sales, investors asking questions. My pulse quickened. Eric wasn't untouchable. I leaned back, my chair creaking, my hands cold. Exposing him could bring it all down. His deals, his status, his smug grin. But it wasn't just about revenge. It was about proving I wasn't the loser he thought, that my life, my trailer, my shop had worth. The risk was real, though. Digging into his world could drag me into a mess, maybe even break what little family we had left. I pictured his face laughing at his patio party, and my anger hardened. I'd always been the quiet brother, the one who fixed things. Now I'd fix this. Eric's empire was built on sand, and I'd found a crack. Could I pull it down without burying myself? The glow of my laptop screen lit my trailer. The hum of the fridge, the only sound as I scrolled through county records at 1 a.m. Eric's name was everywhere. Real estate deals, condos, commercial lots, but the cracks were showing. Forum posts from angry investors, complaints about misleading appraisals, and liens from unpaid contractors painted a picture of a man skating on thin ice. My brother's mansion, his Rolex, his smug grin, they were built on lies. My hands clenched, the memory of his loser jab cutting fresh. I wasn't just angry. I was awake, seeing him for what he was. I dug deeper, pulling up public records from his latest project, a luxury condo development. The numbers didn't add up. Sales reported higher than market value, loans taken against properties already underwater. My pulse quickened as I saved PDFs, my coffee going cold on the table. Eric had always been flashy, but this was reckless, maybe illegal. A client's warning from the shop echoed, "Your brother's shady, Matt." I'd ignored it then, loyal to family. Now I saw the truth. He wasn't just mocking me, he was cheating everyone. I texted Clara, a friend from high school who'd gone into real estate. "Need your help." "Eric's in deep." She called back in 10 minutes, her voice sharp. "I'm not surprised," she said. "He's been dodging regulators for years." Clara had worked with Eric's firm once, saw his tricks up close. Fake appraisals, hidden debts, skimming from investors. She had access to industry databases, could pull records I couldn't. "You sure, Matt?" she asked. This could get ugly. My throat tightened. Ugly meant family fights, maybe losing Eric for good. But his laughter, his patio party, the way he'd made me small, it burned hotter than fear. Clara sent me files the next day. Bank statements, emails from Eric to investors promising impossible returns, even a cease and desist letter from a contractor he'd stiffed. My hands shook as I organized them, each document a brick in the case against him. Exposing Eric could tank his deals, his reputation, everything he'd built. But it wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice for me, for the people he'd conned. Still, doubt gnawed at me. If this backfired, I'd be the one in the crosshairs. My shop, my name, dragged into his mess. I sat back, the trailer's walls closing in, the photo of me and Eric as kids staring from the shelf. I'd always been the quiet one, fixing cars while he chased glory. Now I was ready to fight, but the cost loomed large. Clara's text buzzed. "Got more dirt. Ready to move?" My jaw clenched. I was ready, but for what? Eric's lies were in my hands, but so was our family's future. Could I bring him down without destroying us both? The fluorescent light in my trailer buzzed as I hunched over my laptop. Clara's files open alongside mine. Eric's empire was a house of cards. Fake property appraisals, loans against worthless lots, emails promising investors returns he couldn't deliver. Each document was a piece of his lies, and I was building a wrecking ball. My hands shook as I sorted them. The photo of me and Eric as kids staring from the shelf, a reminder of what I was about to break. His loser jab echoed sharp as the wrench I gripped at my shop. This wasn't just about my trailer, it was about proving he couldn't bury me. Clara came over the next evening, her laptop packed with more dirt, a recorded call of Eric dodging a contractor's payment, bank records showing offshore accounts. "He's been skimming for years," she said, her voice low, eyes scanning my trailer's cramped walls. "You sure you want to do this, Matt?" I nodded, my jaw tight but my stomach twisted. We were targeting Eric's biggest investors, 3 firms who'd sunk millions into his condos. If they saw the truth, they'd pull out and his empire would crumble. But if Eric traced this back, my shop, my life, could take the hit. I'd seen him twist stories before, charm his way out of trouble. We worked late, crafting an anonymous email, routing it through a secure server Clara used for her real estate deals. "Evidence of Eric Cole's financial misconduct," it read, cold and clinical, with attachments that laid out his fraud. $2 million in hidden loans, $500,000 in unpaid contractor fees. Appraisals inflated by 30%. My heart pounded as I read it over, my coffee cold on the table. Clara leaned back, her face tense. "This'll ruin him," she said. "His investors, his reputation, gone." I pictured Eric's mansion, his Rolex, his smug grin at that patio party. Ruin felt right, but it scared me too. Family wasn't supposed to feel like this. We encrypted the files, double-checking our tracks. Clara knew a contact at one investor firm, someone who'd ask questions without naming us. But doubt crept in, heavy as the toolbox I hauled daily. What if Eric spun this, painted me as the jealous brother? My shop was all I had. No mansion, no millions, just my hands and my name. Risking that for revenge felt like standing on a ledge. But then I remembered his guests' laughter, the way he'd made my trailer sound like a cage. He'd tried to make me small. I wasn't small. I hit save, the dossier complete, my fingers cold. Clara's voice broke the silence. "We send this, there's no going back." I nodded, my throat dry. Eric thought he'd won, thought his money made him untouchable. I'd show him what a loser could do with the truth. The dossier was ready to destroy Eric, but one mistake could drag me down with him. Was I ready to pull the trigger? The email went out at midnight, sent from Clara's secure server. The dossier's files heavy with Eric's lies. Fake appraisals, hidden loans, $500,000 in unpaid debts. I sat in my trailer, the fluorescent light flickering, my hands gripping a wrench like it could anchor me. My laptop screen glowed with the sent confirmation, a single line that felt like a detonator. Clara texted an hour later. Investor 1 pulled out. $1.5 million gone. My pulse hammered, a mix of triumph and dread. Eric's empire, the one he'd flaunted at his patio party, was starting to crumble. I pictured his mansion, his Rolex, his smug loser jab, all slipping away. By morning, Clara sent more. Investor 2's asking questions. Eric's scrambling. Her contact at the firm had leaked the dossier to the others, and the fallout was spreading. A news article popped up online, vague but damning. Local developer faces financial scrutiny. I leaned back on my couch, my trailer's walls creaking, the photo of me and Eric as kids staring from the shelf. I'd done this. Quietly, from my tin can, I'd set his world on fire. But my hands were cold, my throat tight. Eric wasn't just my brother. He was a fighter. And fighters don't go down easy. Clara called that afternoon, her voice low, urgent. "He's calling everyone, contractors, investors, even me. He's desperate, Matt." My stomach twisted. We'd covered our tracks, encrypted files, anonymous email, but Eric was sharp. If he sniffed us out, he'd spin it. Paint me as the bitter brother sabotaging his success. My shop, my reputation could take the hit. I'd built my life on steady work, fixing cars, earning trust. Risking that for revenge felt like tightening a noose. I paced the trailer, my boots scuffing the linoleum, the wrench still in my hand. Every creak outside made me jump, half expecting Eric to barge in, his charm turned to venom. Another text from Clara. "Third investor's out. Eric's done. 3 firms, millions in funding gone in 48 hours. The article updated. Cole Properties faces potential bankruptcy." I could see him now, pacing his marble floors, shouting into his phone, his empire collapsing like the bad deals he'd built it on. My anger burned, but so did guilt. He was my brother, the kid I'd raced bikes with, the one who'd cried when Dad's garage failed. Was this justice, or had I crossed into something darker? I sat at my kitchen table, the dossier's files still open, the wrench heavy in my lap. Eric's mockery had pushed me here, but this wasn't just about proving him wrong anymore. It was about everyone he'd cheated, the contractors he'd stiffed, the investors he'd lied to. I'd started this and it was working, but as the trailer's quiet settled around me, fear sharpened. Eric was down but not out, and I wasn't safe yet. Eric's world was falling, but he wasn't broken yet. Would he come for me before I could finish him? The knock came at 9 p.m., sharp and urgent, rattling my trailer's thin door. I froze, wrench in hand, the TV's low hum filling the silence. Outside, under the flickering porch light, stood Eric, my brother, the man who'd called me a loser in his marble mansion. His Rolex was gone, his suit wrinkled, his eyes hollow. "Matt, I need to talk," he said, his voice low, almost broken. My chest tightened, a mix of shock and grim satisfaction. The dossier had worked. His investors gone, his deals collapsed, his name splashed across news sites for fraud. Now he was here at my tin can begging. I let him in, my jaw tight, the trailer's cramped space feeling smaller with him inside. He sat on my couch, head in his hands, the same hands that had flashed wealth while mocking me. "I've lost everything," he said, voice cracking. "The house, the cars, the firm, bankruptcy's coming." He looked up, eyes pleading. "I need help, Matt, alone, a place to crash. You're my brother." My hands clenched, the wrench's cold metal grounding me. Brother? He hadn't treated me like one when he laughed in front of his rich friends, when he made my life small. I leaned against the counter, the photo of us as kids catching my eye. 2 boys in Dad's garage before money tore us apart. "Why me?" I asked, my voice steady but sharp. "You said I was a loser, Eric. Why's my trailer good enough now?" He flinched, his face crumpling. "I was wrong," he muttered. "I was stupid, please." His desperation was real, but so was my memory of his patio party, his guests' smirks, his tin can jab. I'd spent weeks building that dossier with Clara, exposing his fraud, watching his empire burn. This moment, him begging, was what I'd wanted. So why did it feel so heavy? I thought of Clara's texts, the news articles. Coal properties bankrupt. His investors had fled. Contractors were suing. His reputation was dust. I'd done that from this trailer, he'd mocked. But now, seeing him broken, guilt crept in. He was family, the kid I'd shared a room with. Could I turn him away? My mind raced, weighing his betrayal against the blood we shared. Then I remembered the contractors he'd stiffed, the investors he'd lied to. This wasn't just about me. It was justice earned. I straightened, my voice cold. "I've got nothing for you, Eric. You made your choices." His eyes widened, then dropped. He stood, shoulders slumped, and walked out, the door creaking shut behind him. I sat, the wrench heavy in my lap, my trailer quiet. I'd won, but the victory wasn't sweet. It was hard, like the life I'd built. Eric was gone, his world in ruins, but the weight stayed. Could I live with what I'd done, or was family too deep a wound? Eric's knock didn't come again. Days after he left my trailer, head bowed, the news confirmed his fall. Coal Properties declares bankruptcy. Headlines blared. His mansion was on the market, his cars repossessed, his name a cautionary tale in real estate circles. I sat in my trailer, the fluorescent light steady now, the wrench I'd gripped that night back in my toolbox. My tin can had outlasted his marble palace, and the irony wasn't lost on me. I'd brought him down, quietly, from the life he'd mocked, and it felt like justice, hard-won and sharp. I went back to my shop the next day, the familiar smell of oil and metal grounding me. Customers nodded, some offering quiet respect. Word had spread, not about my role in Eric's ruin, but about my work, my reliability. A local dealership offered a contract to service their fleet, a deal that'd keep my shop busy for years. I signed it, my hand steady, my name carrying weight again. Clara texted, "You're the talk of the town, Matt. Eric's done." I didn't smile, but I felt it. A shift, like the ground under me had finally settled. Eric's downfall wasn't just financial. His investors, the ones he'd charmed at his patio party, turned their backs. Contractors he'd stiffed were suing, and his social circle, the ones who'd laughed at my trailer, scattered. He was alone now, no Rolex, no mansion, just the wreckage of his greed. I'd done that with Clara's help, from my trailer's rickety table. The dossier we'd sent, packed with his lies, fake appraisals, hidden loans, had been the spark. But as I locked up the shop, the photo of us as kids flashed in my mind and my chest tightened. He was my brother, and I'd burned his world down. I walked home, the trailer park quiet under the stars. My single wide with its leaky roof and creaky steps felt different now. Not small, but solid. I'd chosen this life, no debts, no lies, to stay free. Eric had mocked it, but I'd built something real while his empire crumbled. The victory was mine, but it wasn't clean. Family wasn't supposed to end like this, with one brother begging and the other turning away. I sat on my couch, the silence heavy, and wondered if I'd lost more than I'd gained. My phone buzzed. A new client. Another job. I stood, my boots scuffing the linoleum, and looked at the photo again. Eric was gone, but I was still here, standing tall. I'd reclaimed my ground, not just from him, but from the part of me that believed family meant taking the hits. That part was buried now. I'd won. My trailer stronger than Eric's empire. But could I live with the quiet where family used to be? The stars were sharp above my trailer park. The night quiet except for the distant hum of a neighbor's TV. I stood on my creaky porch, a beer in hand, the cold bottle grounding me. Eric was gone, bankrupt, disgraced, a ghost in the real estate world. His mansion was sold, his name poisoned, his life a cautionary tale. I'd done that from this tin can he'd mocked with a dossier that exposed his lies. Fake appraisals, hidden loans, cheated investors. My victory was real, but it sat heavy, like the wrench I carried in my shop. My auto shop was busier than ever, the new dealership contract bringing steady work. Customers nodded with respect, some whispering about Eric's fall, none knowing my role. Clara had called, her voice light. "You're a legend, Matt, he's finished." I'd grunted a thanks, but the words didn't lift the weight. I'd spent years taking Eric's jabs, thinking family meant swallowing pride. His patio party, his loser sneer, had shattered that. I'd fought back, not with fists, but with truth, and won. So why did the photo of us as kids, still on my shelf, sting like an open wound? I walked inside, the trailer's walls familiar, comforting. The leaky roof, the scuffed linoleum, they weren't flaws. They were mine, paid for with honest work. Eric's mansion, his Rolex, his charmed life. They'd been a mirage built on lies that crumbled when I pulled the thread. I'd shown him, shown everyone, that my life had worth. But the cost was there, in the silence where family used to be. His begging at my door, his broken "I was wrong" echoed in the quiet. I'd turned him away, chosen justice over blood, and it left a mark. My phone buzzed, a new client, another job for the shop. I set the beer down, my hands steady now. I was 40, a mechanic who'd built something real, something Eric's money couldn't touch. His betrayal had hardened me, taught me trust was earned, not given. I'd never let anyone make me small again, not him, not anyone. The trailer, once his punchline, was my fortress, my proof. I looked at the photo one last time, then turned it face down. The past was done. My future was mine to build. I stepped outside, the night air cool, the stars brighter. Eric's fall was his own doing, but I'd lit the match. The scars would stay, but so would my resolve. I'd live my way, quiet, steady, unbowed, knowing no one could take that from me again. I'd risen above Eric's mockery, my life stronger than his lies. But could I outrun the shadow of what I'd lost?